Primates have forward-facing eyes like cats and owls. Forward-facing eyes allow for binocular vision, which allows an animal to judge depth. That means it can perceive how far away things are. Primates have incredible depth perception, and most can jump from their perch on one tree to a small branch on a distant tree with amazing accuracy. Most primates are omnivorous. A few primates, like the baboon and the chimpanzee, will even eat small mammals. Some primates are active little creatures that constantly move around very rapidly, so they need to fill up on foods that are quick and easy to digest. That's why small primates usually eat insects and fruit. The protein from the insects and the sugar from the fruits give them the energy they need to hop from tree to tree. Primates also have partially or fully opposable thumbs, and most have opposable toes. Remember that opposable means that the thumb or toe can turn, face, or touch the other fingers or toes on the same hand or foot. Try and touch one of your toes to the rest of the toes on your foot. That's impossible, even if you happen to have long toes. While most primates have opposable toes, the Lord obviously intended for most primates to live in trees, so He created them with the important feature so they can grasp limbs with both their hands and their feet. Most primates have a rather large brain for their size. This is why they exhibit higher intelligence than many other creatures. We'll discuss their intelligence a bit later. Like many animals God created, most primates form social groups. These groups are often called troops, are usually made of many females and one or a few adult males. You may remember that lions and some other mammals form similar social groups. As in the case with many other animal social groups, there is usually a social order in a primate group, with one monkey at the top and all the other monkeys somewhere in the order below, similar to the other animals we have studied so far. The top male is called the alpha male, while the top female is called the alpha female. Some troops are small with just a few primates, while others contain several hundred primates all living together. When a male comes of age, he sometimes must leave the troop and join a group of other males. If he's strong enough, he might fight his way to the top and become the top dog, so to speak, taking over the troop. A primate's position in the troop is important because it determines such things as how much food it will get, how much space it will have for itself, and whether or not it will be able to have a mate. A primate's position in the group will be determined by the ability it shows in rough play, fights, and making friends with the other primates. One way primates can interact with each other in the group is by grooming one another. Typically, primates lower in the social structure will groom those that are higher. When one primate grooms another, some scientists believe it's to gain favor with the higher up primates. In Greek, strepho means curved. So members of this suborder are primates with noses that curve out from their faces. Most biologists are able to refer to them as wet-nosed primates because these curved noses are usually wet, like the nose of a dog. This order contains primates known as lemurs, bush babies, lorises, and aye-ayes. As you can see from the pictures, these animals have large eyes perfectly designed for the nocturnal lifestyle. It is not surprising then that most of them are active at night. Those large eyes also have a feature that makes them a bit frightening at night. They reflect light, even a small amount of light such as the light from the moon or a flashlight. Even though their reflecting eyes make them look frightening, these little creatures aren't a danger to anyone. They are fairly docile creatures. In Greek, haplo means simple, so these are the simple-nosed primates. Actually, biologists call them the dry-nosed primates to separate them from the members of the suborder Strepsirini. They usually have a round, dry nostrils that do not resemble a dog's or a cat's nose nearly as much as the primates you studied. Simple-nosed primates usually have large brains, but not always, and much longer arms than legs, but not always. Scientists divide this suborder into three groups: Platyrrhini, Catarrhini, and Tarsiformes. Take a look at the tarsier on the left. Do you think it's nocturnal or diurnal? If you guessed nocturnal because of its giant eyes, you would be right. Tarsiers get their name from their extremely long tarsus, their ankle bone, which gives them a strange looking stretched out foot. They are tiny little creatures that could fit into the palm of your dad's hand. In fact, the smallest primate in the world is the Philippine tarsier. In Greek, platy means flat. So, can you guess what Platyrrhini primates have? Flat noses, of course. These primates in this group typically have flat noses with nostrils pointing out towards the sides of the nose. They are also arboreal, which means they live and spend most of their time in trees. They are mostly found in the denses of jungles, such as the Amazon rainforest. Because of this, there isn't a great deal known about them. Many New World monkeys also have a prehensile tail. Some of them have a fully prehensile tail, which means they can pick up and manipulate objects using only their tails. Others have partially prehensile tails, which means they can hold onto things with their tails, but that's about it. New World monkeys with partially prehensile tails mostly use them to hold onto tree branches, which helps them move around the tree. The marmosets and tamarins are two types of New World monkeys. They are fairly small monkeys, most reaching the size of a squirrel or a small cat. They live in the tropical rainforest of Central and South America, mainly in the Amazon rainforest. With the help of their tails, they can scurry at top speeds through the trees in which they live, hunting insects and other small animals. In addition, they eat fruit and other plant parts. Many will even chew into a branch and eat the sap or gum inside. Marmosets and tamarins spend their nights in tangles of vines, forks of trees, inside tree hollows, or at the base of palm fronds. They are diurnal, so they spend their days looking for food and interacting with each other. They are fond of grooming others in their group, and they tend to do whatever they have a chance to rest from the rest of the group. Young ones also play together, chasing each other around, grabbing each other, and even biting one another in a playful, gentle way. Although marmosets and tamarins have many similarities, there are differences between them as well. Generally, marmosets have canine teeth that are about the same size as their incisors, while tamarins have enlarged canine teeth like those of a dog. In addition, tamarins are generally a bit larger than marmosets. While most marmosets and tamarin fathers participate in caring for the young, tamarin fathers are usually a bit more involved. For example, the young must be carried for quite some time. In tamarins, the father does most of the carrying, bringing the young to the mother only to nurse. But in marmosets, the carrying is shared between the mother and the father. In Greek, kato means downward. So the Catarrhini primates have downward pointing noses with nostrils at the bottom rather than on the sides. They are further split into two groups, monkeys and apes. What's the difference between a monkey and an ape? Can you guess? Well, the first thing to look for is its tail. A monkey usually has a tail, even if it's very small. Apes, however, have no tail. The next thing to look for is the way the animal gets from tree to tree. Does it swing or jump? Apes have arms built for swinging, but monkeys' arms are not designed that way. Monkeys are designed for balance and stability as they jump, hop, and skitter over the tops of branches. Also, apes generally have larger brains and can sometimes learn new things more quickly than monkeys. Some apes have been known to use tools and solve problems. Apes also have unique personalities just as dogs do. Whole communities of apes may behave differently than other communities of the same kind of ape. This makes apes a little bit more diverse than monkeys. Scientists have divided them into two groups, the Colobinae and the Cercopithecinae. These two boxes. The main differences between these groups are that the Colobinae are mostly herbivorous, live in trees, and don't have pouches in their cheeks to store food. The Cercopithecinae are omnivorous, often use trees but are comfortable on the ground as well, and have pouches in their cheeks to store food. I will just discuss one member of the Colobinae group, the Proboscis monkey, whose scientific name is Nasalus lavertus. Can you guess what makes this monkey special? Well, do you know what a proboscis is? Or on mammals, a proboscis is the nose. Notice the genus name, nasal, also refers to the nose. Now can you guess? The proboscis monkey has a very big nose, as you can see in the picture. The males have longer noses than the females. Sometimes they are so large the male will have to push its nose out of the way to put something in its mouth. Which one do you think is the male? The one on the left or the one on the right? The Cercopithecinae group includes baboons, mangabeys, mandrills, guenons, patas monkeys, and macaques. All these cheek-pouched monkeys live in Africa except the macaque, which also lives in Asia. In fact, one Asian macaque, the Japanese macaque, is the only monkey that can endure temperatures below freezing for long periods of time. It is sometimes called the snow monkey. Another kind of macaque, the rhesus macaque, has been studied a great deal by scientists. This macaque, also called the rhesus monkey, was the first primate in space. I want to concentrate on baboons and mandrills. Baboons tend to live in very large groups. All the males can mate with other females in the troop, but some males have a higher rank than others. Thus, male baboons often fight within the troop, trying to earn a higher position. In some cases, if a male baboon is worried about a higher ranking male starting a fight with him, he will carry an infant, because the presence of the infant will reduce the chance of him being attacked by another baboon. When foraging, baboons will dig up roots, turn over rocks in search of beetles and scorpions, and even dig through elephant dung in the hopes of finding dung beetles inside. Adult males will also catch and kill small mammals to share with the troop. At night, a troop will sleep on a rocky cliff or in trees for protection. While baboons are generally brown or white with long brown noses, mandrills have more colorful noses that are also ridged. They are the rainforest counterparts to baboons and have a lot in common with them. However, there are differences besides their noses. While baboons are fairly common, mandrills are threatened with extinction because their habitats are being destroyed by humans. Interestingly, mandrills have a less colorful cousin called the drill. That's the one in the middle. This monkey is found only in Cameroon, and while it has the same kind of nose ridges that the mandrill has, its nose is black, lacking the colors that make the mandrill's nose so distinctive. Apes are divided into two groups, great apes and lesser apes. The great apes are generally larger than the lesser apes, which is why we call them great. Lesser apes are also known as gibbons, while great apes include chimpanzees, bonobos, gorillas, and orangutans. They all live in Africa or Southeast Asia. Let's start our ape safari in Southeast Asia, which is where you'll find the lesser apes or gibbons. Swinging from tree to tree in the rainforest, these furry apes have long fingers at the end of their long arms, a feature that enables them to reach out and grab a distant tree limb as they almost fly between the trees. With one powerful swing, they are able to propel their bodies into the air at a speed that allows them to accurately grasp a branch 20 feet away. Their fingers work like hooks, latching onto the branches they catch in their swing. This kind of movement is called brachiation, and gibbons are masters of it. Swinging isn't the only way they get from tree to tree. They can also leap up to 30 feet with their powerful legs. Let's hop back in our Jeep because we are leaving the rainforest of Southeast Asia and going to Africa to study the great apes. We'll start with chimpanzees and bonobos. Chimpanzees, or chimps as they are often called, are probably the most studied of all apes. One pioneering researcher, Jane Goodall, even lived with them so that she could learn about them. They live in the forests and grasslands of Africa in large groups that often break down into smaller groups. Those smaller groups might spend a long time away from the main group. They usually come back to the main group from time to time, but they can also join a new one. Scientists call this a fission fusion. The word fission means to split apart, and the word fusion means to put together. As you can see, a fission fusion is a very apt description of how this troop operates. Bonobos look very much like chimps but are just slightly smaller. Because of this, they used to be called pygmy chimpanzees. Bonobos are generally considered less aggressive than chimpanzees. Also, they knuckle walk like any ape. Although they knuckle walk like any ape, they do spend more time walking upright. Both chimpanzees and bonobos are very intelligent apes, much more intelligent than gorillas, which I want to discuss now. Gorillas aren't ferocious carnivores, but instead live on fruits, leaves, and a few insects now and again. So if you see a gorilla, be very quiet and don't wave your arms in the air. Don't use a flash when taking pictures. All these things could be seen as a threat. If you keep your distance from the troop, you'll be welcome to watch them as they forage, as they groom each other, and as the infants play. The lead male is usually called a silverback gorilla because it develops grey hair on its back at about 12 years of age. Silverbacks also grow long canine teeth at maturity, making them look rather fierce. Silverback leaders are always the center of the troop's attention, making all the decisions involved in every fight, guiding the troop to feeding grounds, and taking responsibility for every other animal in the troop. When a male is born to the troop, it is allowed to stay until it is about 11 years old. Then it must leave, joining a bachelor group until it finds a mate or starts its own troop. If a male is able to challenge the leader and win, it will take over the troop. Moving our safari back to Southeast Asia, we will find orangutans in the trees of Sumatra and Borneo. Their faces are long and sad looking, and their bowed legs support big, bulky bodies. The name orang-utang may sound like it comes from the orange coloring of these creatures, but it actually comes from the Malay words that mean man of the forest. Perhaps that is what people thought of when they saw these very intelligent creatures sitting for long hours staring down intently with their deep-set eyes. Many scientists consider orang-utans the most intelligent of all apes, which in turn means they are the most intelligent animals in the world. Even though chimpanzees is very intelligent, some studies indicate that orang-utans has better problem-solving skills and can use more complex tools. They hold leafy branches over their heads to shade themselves and protect themselves from the rain. They even fashion nests with a roof for protection against the rain. I guess these smart creatures aren't too fond of the rain in their own rainforest home.
That's all, folks.